Hello and welcome to Mastering Power Query video series. This is video number 5 where we're going to talk about numerical transformations available in the Power Query editor when you have to do transformations on the numerical data sets. Without much ado, let's get into the Power Query editor. Let's load the data and check out what options are available for us to work on the numerical data. So I'm going to go to the Excel screen. I'm going to launch the Power Query editor, data tab, get data, launch Power Query editor, and I'm going to go ahead and load my Excel data, which is this data. I'm going to go ahead and load it. And once that data has been picked up, it's going to ask me which sheet you want to load the data from. My file got only one sheet where I have the data. I'm going to select that sheet, click OK. Now our data is going to get loaded to the editor. As you can see, this is a comma separated values. They are not in proper shape. The first task, you have to split them into individual columns. So before I do that, I'm going to get rid of this change type step in the applied step, because the data type conversions, I don't want to do it right now until they are splitted into individual columns. So let's get rid of this change type step. Having that column selected, let's go to the home tab. Under the transform, I'm going to the split column and I'm going to go for the choice delimiter. And it's going to ask what is that delimiter. But the beautiful part here is Power Query editor is able to detect that automatically. Comma is the delimiter, which is splitting your data. And it's asking, how do you want to split them into? For each occurrence of the comma, would you like to put them in individual columns? Absolutely yes in this case. So I'm going to simply click OK to get the process completed. And there you can see our data got splitted. Again, the change type step has been popped up. I'm going to get rid of that, but the splitting of the column is completed. Now the next thing I have to do is promoting the first row into header row. So let's go ahead and check out what option I'm going to use here. I'm going to go to the home tab and I'm going to go to the transform group where I could see the option use first row as header. I'm going to click on it and that transforms the first row to the header. So I'm going to roll back again. So here you could see the change type has popped up again, which is perfectly fine right now, because that's what I want to do after the splitting has been done. But I want to quickly check whether every column has been converted into the proper data type. I'm going to zoom in for you guys to look at it comfortably. So this is a number. Okay, number, decimal, number. Perfect. So let's scroll up and check out. Yes. That something is really good, isn't it? So where you don't have to take a strain of checking out everything is already taken care by Power Query. That is something lovely. All right. So everything seems to be perfectly fine. So let's go ahead and start the real discussion about which is the transformations which you can perform in the numerical columns from the Power Query editor. What are the choices you got? You need to be very careful. Let me show you where the tools are available for you. So the tools are available in two different places, one in the transform and one in the add column. So let me zoom in for you guys to check it. When you go to the transform, and there is a separate group given for the numerical transformation, which is called number column. So any transformation related to the numerical column, you got your choices over here. And you could see the same option under the other tab as well, which is add column, again from number. Now what's the difference between the transform set of tools and the add column set of tools? So transform is option you should be thinking about when you want the transformation should be happening in the same column itself. The result of your whatever transformation you're going to choose, if you want the result to appear in the same column where the actual data was, then perfectly transform tab is the better one to go for. But if you want to retain the original data column as it is and you want to have the transformation result as a separate column, then you should be choosing the add column tab and you should be working on this group. Okay, so the question is whether you need a new column which is a result of the numerical transformation, or you want to do the transformation on the existing column itself. So we're going to switch between these two tabs for different requirements. So let's take the first example here. What I want to do here is I want to do a rounding operation on the specific column which contains the product rating. So let me scroll to the left side where I have the product rating. These are decimals here, but I want to round these values and I want to present them as a whole number only. Now, because it's a product rating, I want to take it on an optimistic way. We're going to round this up because to have a good feeling that the customer has gone for a good rating. So 4.2, 4.7. Let's see what happens when I round it up. So where is the option? So should I need to create a new column? No, here the rounding operation should happen on that column itself. So I'm going to select that column and I'm going to go to the transform tab because I want the transformation result, the rounded up result, to appear in the same column. So I go to the transform tab and I'm going to go to the number column and I'm going to go to the rounding drop down and I have options here. Would you like to round or round up or round down? I want to round it up. So the moment I click, you can see the description says round numbers in the selected columns to the next integer value. So when I click, it got rounded up. So the 4.2 also has been considered as 5, which is good sign for the company. All right, but actually if you don't want to do that, if you want to follow a simple rounding operations, so you can cut that step, come back to the product rating, and let's go to the rounding again. This time I'm going to simply choose round and it's going to ask me how many decimal places would you like to retain. This time I don't want to retain any decimal places, but use the normal rounding functionality or the logic. So click OK, and let us see the fourth rating, which is 4.2. That should appear as 4, isn't it? So let's go ahead and click OK, and here we go. You could see here the 4.5 or the 4.2, they are considered as the 4 only. They are not rounded up. Okay, just to show you that you can see here, that's how. But 3.8 was rounded to 4. Okay, which is a normal rounding operation. So I've shown you what these round up or round down or round can do. So here I'm going to go back and choose round up. Okay, so transformation we have done. So let's say I want to do something here. I want to do some calculations between the existing columns so that we get an opportunity of using the standard operation. But when I want to do the calculation between the existing columns, the result of that calculation, I want to bring it into a new column. So ideally what I'm going to do right now, first I'm going to select these two columns, initial price and the final price, and I go to the add column, and you can see the transform column, it got grayed out because that's not allowed for you to do it. So add column, and I'm going to go to the standard operation. I want to do the subtract. So when I do the subtract, what's going to happen is initial price will be subtracted with the final price, and I will get a new column for that. So when I click subtract, and here we go, we got the new column with the header subtraction. I'm going to say column which I want to name it as margin. So you can see that's how you do the calculation between the existing columns. There are a hell a lot of options available for us here, like add, multiply, subtract, divide. These are pretty straightforward. What is this divide integer modulo, which is nothing but when you divide a value, would you like to take only the integer part of it? Then you will go for divide integer. Would you like to take only the remainder part of your division? Then you go for modulo. Percentage and percent of. This is where some of the people get confused during my training session. What's the difference between them? So let's find out what is that. Example, I'm going to go to my initial price column. I'm going to select that. I'm going to create a new column, and that new column, how I want to do it, I want to increment the initial price by 5%. All the initial price I want to increment by 5%. So I'm going to go ahead and click percentage, and it's going to ask me enter a percentage to apply to each values in the column. So I'm going to say why don't you apply 105 percentage on each value of the selected column. So ideally what I'm trying to achieve here is I'm trying to, when I multiply this with 105%, it means we are incrementing 5% of the value, correct? So let's click OK, and the new column is here, which is 5% increment from the initial price. So let me drag this column and place it near the initial price so that you guys can see exactly what we are trying to do. So I'm going to drop it here. So you can see here initial price column, and I have the percentage. So let me say incremented initial price. Then, so you understood right now what is this percentage. Okay, but then what is this percent off? So let's try to find out. I want to know this 189 is how much percent of 180. Ideally, it should return 105%, correct? Because that's what we multiply. So if you have a value, let's say, for example, simply the discount value, but you do not know how much percentage is the actual discount, then that is where the percent off will give you the answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this column and I'm going to say add column category, because I want to find this out or present this in a new column. So that we can cross check whether it's really 105% or not. So I'm going to go to the standard category, say percent of which column, the initial price, right? So I'm going to click here. I want to say use the values in a column, and the column I want to select here is initial price, and I'm going to click OK, and you could see that it is 105%. So let's drag this and place it just next to it. So you can see here, let me zoom it for you guys. You can see here. So the first one we did is percentage, which is 5% increment from the value. The next one is percent off to find out whether it is really 105% of this value. Okay, so this is where the difference between the percent and the percentage. Okay, let me show you one more option here, which you can think about here is information category. These are contextual basis. I would say it's not a generic usage. Let's say, for example, I want to know how many values are even numbers, how many are odd numbers. In case if you want to do such thing, then you can check out the IsEven, IsOdd. So let's take a column for that particular action and check it. So which column can we take for that? Let's say we could take, why don't we take the height column? Let me zoom it for you guys. Here we have the odd number and the even number. So let's select this column and let's go to the add column category, and we go to the information and we're going to say IsEven. And let's go to the right side and let's drag it and put it over here. You can see here where I chose IsEven. So for the even numbers, I got the true. For the odd numbers, I got false. So this is something which we can think about. Let's say, for example, it's a packaging division, and you want to know how many are even and odd, so that you would know that how much would fix inside the cotton boxes. And if you have an even number allowed to be packaged inside a box, so you would know that which are the transaction which is going to stay away using these options. So IsEven, IsOdd, and there is an option available for us to find out whether there is a sign in the number or not. Those options are also available under the information. So if you have a sign, the sign means a negative sign we are talking about. If you have a sign, it's going to come as 1. If there is no sign, it's going to come as 0. So understand that you got these choices under the number transformations. So these are standard is something we checked out. Rounding is something we checked out already. Information we checked out. The one which we did not talk about is these scientific, trigonometry, and statistics. Scientific is something when you want to do something related to these. Suppose if you have a negative and positives, you want to put everything into absolute values, then yes, you can go for absolute values. Okay, each, I hope the moment you read those words, you can find out what those are meant for. And these are for specific scientific expressions. If you're going to go for a mathematical expressions or to do certain calculations, then these options are also available for you. Again, be very careful in choosing whether add column category or the transformation side. Now, last but not the least, the statistics part, if you choose these values, it will return one number as a result for you. All right, so you need to be very careful in choosing these choices. Let's say, for example, if I select the final price and say sum, okay, so what's going to happen is I will get just a single value, and this is simply to know what is happening. You know, what is my total. If you want to find out, you can use this option. Probably you can take this value and feed it in another as an input for another expression. Absolutely, you can use those times these kind of values, but right now I don't want it. I'm going to go back to the old stage. I'm going to remove that step. So in this video, what I've shown you that what are the options available for you for the numerical data transformations. So when you should go for transform tab, when you should go for add column tab, and under the numerical columns, what will happen if you go for the statistical category, what will happen if you go for the standard category, what will happen for the rounding, what will happen for the information, but the contextual basis are scientific and the trigonometry category. All right, so in the next video we'll talk about the other transformation options available for you. Until then, take care of yourself. Signing off, Hariharan.